All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is my great pleasure to introduce to you my friend Chris Fogel. He is there in the Treasure Coast area, which is Port St. Lucie area, and we have become friends over several years. He has brought me in to speak into the lives of the body of Christ there, and so I'm going to get him to speak to you as Bethel Outreach International Church because he is a phenomenal man of God, but he's also a CPA, and that he can get you right. So he's going to share with us today how to get our lives in order so that we are biblically sound financially now and in the future, and even when you die. So, Chris, good to have you, my brother.
Well, thank you very much, Bishop. It's been a pleasure working with you all the years that I've known you and how you've provided kingdom information to our community. Um, but one of the things I do want to share with the congregation is the importance of order. You know, we serve a God of order.
Mm,
And when we serve a God of order, we must examine ourselves to make certain that we're in order within the kingdom.
mm,
And I'm talking a little bit about life planning and estate planning. And
mm-hmm,
some people might say, "Well, I don't have that much. I don't need an estate." Well, we're not going to worry about how much you have, but what we are concerned is how you have prepared yourself and your family for when God calls you home. You know, in First Timothy 5 and verse 8, it says, "But if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever." And I think oftentimes people might glance over that and really not understand what it is. But I've had the misfortune of having a couple of pastors who went to be with the Lord and did not have a will.
mm,
And instead of their families mourning the loss, they're in confusion. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what they have. And so, what I'm recommending that everyone do is make certain that you have a will. And I don't care if you're 25 years of age or 70, because we don't know when God will call us home. But there are cases, one case called the Shivo case in Florida,
mm,
where a young couple's wife was in a horrible accident. Long story short, there was no directive on keeping her alive. Her mother fought the husband. It drug into courts for 6 years, and it was sad. So what do we do? Well, the first thing we do is we get a simple will, and we assign a personal representative to that will. It could be your spouse, it could be your son, daughter, niece, nephew, someone who's competent. And the location of the will is typically going to be kept with an attorney, but you also should keep a copy of the will and let your personal rep know where the will is. Now, you can change your will. You say, well, what if something happens and I want to change my will? That's not a problem. You go to the attorney and it's called a codicil. That's the name for making a change. But in addition to having a will, I think many of you realize that if you've had a sister, brother, mother, father in the hospital recently, they asked if you had a living will. A living will is especially important because that's a directive to the hospital that basically governs whether or not you want artificial means to be kept alive or allow you to pass peacefully if that is your wish. But if you don't have a living will, the hospital is going to do everything in their power to keep you alive, regardless of the cost and anguish to the family. So a living will is important. It can be very simple. And then you want to have a medical directive. And the medical directives basically instruct whoever is your healthcare surrogate what you want done in certain circumstances, whether you want to be kept alive or not kept alive. Those are not difficult documents, they're not expensive, but if you don't have them, it can create a tremendous problem for the family. So it's good to have a person who is a medical durable power of attorney, as well as a personal power of attorney. Now, when I say power of attorney, it doesn't mean that they can do whatever they want. By law, they are held to a high fiduciary standard, so they have to do what is right. But sometimes maybe your son or your niece is more in tune to the medical situation and might be better in making decisions concerning your medical directives, whereas you might have another son, daughter, niece, nephew that's good for the actual financial affairs of the family. So it's important to have your will, to have a living will, and make certain that the living will is kept in a place where your family can access it. Because oftentimes when you're in a hospital, it's not always from 9 to 5. It can be on a Friday night, Saturday, weekend. So make certain that your person that you've designated to look after you knows where your living will is kept and has a copy of it. And these are important. Um, you can go deeper in this. You can set up what we call trust. I don't recommend it unless you've got a considerable estate, and then I would get with an attorney to advise you as to whether or not a trust is necessary for you. For myself, I do have a trust, but for some people, a simple will, a living will with a durable power of attorney and medical directives is all you need. But please, the other thing too, sometimes people have a brokerage account or a bank account and they have it password protected. So if something happens to them, no one can get in. So I would say that if you do have some accounts that require a username and password, that you let the person know where you keep it so that in the event that something happens, they can have access to your account. So it's a lot, but it's not a lot. It doesn't take a lot of time to get a will made. It doesn't take a lot of time to get a living will and a durable power of attorney, but you need to have them. You can also, for your loved ones that are, let's say, very senior in age, you can prepay their funeral cost. That's a very important step for people that may run out of money, where it might be where Medicaid will take over. But if you prepay the medical cost, no one, not the state nor the federal government, can challenge prepaid medical cost. So that's something else to consider in a situation where you have a loved one who is maybe frail, of not a good health, and doesn't have a tremendous sum of money. You can you can prepay for the burial cost, and that's a legitimate expense, and Medicaid cannot challenge it. So there really isn't a lot of time to go over everything. I mean, we could go over irrevocable trust, elder law, and I tell you, elder law attorneys are important, particularly when you have a loved one, a parent that you're looking after, and you want to try to protect their estate. There is an organization called the National Association of Elder Law Attorneys, NAELA, NAELA. You can Google NAELA, NAELA, and look for an attorney who has that certification in your state, because the laws are state specific. So you may live in North Carolina, but your loved one may live in Georgia. You need to have an attorney that's board certified in Georgia to do the proper planning. So I throw that out as something else to assist you. And the other thing I will tell Bishop Jackson, I will always be available for any questions that we did not answer on this telecast. They can be emailed to me, and I would be more than happy to answer your questions as best I can. But it's always good to have a local attorney just to take care of the simple matters and plan. It's not just planning for planning's sake. It's God's will. It's God's rule. And I've given you the scripture reading on it. It's very important. And when God does call you home, don't make it a tragedy for your family in the sense that they don't know what's happening. They don't know where things are. They don't know what you want done. take care of that now while you can.
Yeah, and that's huge because again, making sure that things are in order. And when you were sharing that with us in the men's conference, I was doing my own internal check to say, okay, where are all of my things that you were mentioning? Do I have those things where people can get them? And I do have them in a way that people can get them. And so it is it, but still, most people don't. Could you, real quick, have you dealt with anybody that had stuff that was in probate?
Yes, I have. And, what is probate? Well, probate simply means that if you have assets that are governed by the will, it could be property, car, whatever, it goes through probate. An attorney typically will take that, they do what's called an inventory of the estate, what all the things are. Now, sometimes you can avoid probate. Let's say that mom has three daughters, and most of what she has is in the bank account. She can set up bank accounts and trust for her three daughters so that upon her death, it goes directly to her daughters and avoids probate.
Mm.
So when you've already named individuals on part of your assets, and that upon your demise it goes to them, that avoids probate. But if you have a house, oftentimes the house will have to go through probate, the car will go through probate, and the law typically allows the attorney to charge a stated rate.
Mhm.
And people say, well, if I get a trust, it doesn't have to go through probate. That's true. It doesn't go through probate, but the attorney's still going to get a fee
Yeah,
set by the state.
yeah,
So you're not saving money that way. You're just avoiding your assets from being public record.
right.
So probate means it's public record, public information. People will know what you have. If
Hmm.
it's in a trust, a revocable trust, it's not going to be for public record. And the trust then will govern where the assets go, but there will be no public record of it.
That's good. That's good. Thank you for sharing that. That I think that clarified for a lot of people what probate and all that is about. And the thing that you said earlier, I think that is very important, is that this is not just for people that are seniors. We need to make young people need to have all these things in place just as well. We've had young people and we've seen young people lose their lives in our area, and they're gone. They didn't have anything in order that way, and because they felt somebody else could take care of it for them once they pass, if they pass. So, thank you so much, sir. I really do appreciate it that you took the time to share with our congregation this morning, and we will take you up on that. I will.
You have my email address
Yep.
that
Yep.
I've given you, and you feel free to give that to your congregation if anybody has any questions.
Yep.
Because I know some people are concerned about confidential matters,
Yep.
so they may not want you to even know.
Yeah.
But you can give them my email address, and rest assured, whatever my response is to them will be confidential just to them.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Have a great time. Ladies and gentlemen, this man of God is about to go on a pretty serious trip, him and his wife. And matter of fact, they are leaving today. We're talking before that, but they're leaving today as you're looking at this. So, Chris, have a great trip. God bless you. I'll talk to you when you get home. Bye-bye.
Bless you, my brother. God
All right.
bless.
Bye-bye.